Good morning, everybody. I'm Micheline from Americana Long Arm Quilts. We do custom quilting and long arming, and you can find a link to our website in the description below. It's Americana Long Arm Quilting, and I would love it if you would go there. We sell patterns. We have free patterns. We're going to start selling some fabric soon. And you can also check out my long arming service. I would love to be able to long arm something for you. Okay, today is going to be a fantastic day. I'm all alone here on the farm, except for the dogs. So nobody's going to bother me. I get to quilt all day long. I'm all caught up on my drapery business for this week. And it's Sunday, so woo! So I get to quilt all day long uninterrupted. I'm doing a really fun project today. It's going to be a fast project. It is a beginner quilt, but I also consider it a skill builder. So whether you're a beginner and you need practice on this particular skill, which is those 1/4 inch seams, and we'll get more into that later, or if you're an intermediate or advanced quilter and just want to go back and get those skills freshened up, this is a great one for that. Okay, so I've drawn just a corner of the pattern that we're going to do today. So these are great big blocks and then a 9 patch, a great big block and then a 9 patch. So it kind of gives you that Irish chain. They're all squares, 2 cuts, that's it. And that kind of thing is so wonderful. Those big squares for your K facets or your tulip pink. I love tulip pink. I love all the little fantasy type things that she comes up with. I think they're beautiful. And sometimes you don't want to cut into that fabric because it's so gorgeous. So this is where you can use them. Now, as you can see, I've got layer cake and fat quarters. You can make this with 2 layer cakes. I didn't quite know what I was going to use, so I bought a layer cake and a fat quarter square. You could buy 2 layer cakes and do this. You could also make the quilt smaller than what I'm going to make it and use just 1 layer cake. Another option would be your fabric with your print on it in one of these, and then just make this a background square. And then you're using a lot less fabric. Another option would be your fun fabric here, and here maybe a black and a white, 2 background colors, 2 contrasting colors. Can you imagine if this was like a 1950s diner kind of print right here, and then have that a black and white check? Oh, that would be so cute. Christmas quilts, here's your Christmas print right here, and then this is maybe red and green. Perfect for that. So you can make this with just 1 layer cake if you have just the 1 layer cake. I am making it with chickens because this quilt is for my daughter. She works from home. She likes to go outside and sit. So in the spring and the fall, when she wants to go outside, it's a little bit chilly. So she asked me the other day if I would make her a quilt. A simple quilt, Mom. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on it. She knows me so well, and I know her really well too. And I know that if I made this really some fancy, intricate quilt that I'd spent hours and hours and hours on, she would be reticent to take it outside and get it dirty. So this one is super simple, super quick. She can throw it in the washing machine 100 times. It's going to be fabulous. That is why I picked, and this is where I started. I picked this mossy green color for the background and the backing. So, and I picked that because if you picked white, oh my gosh, that would get super dirty. If you picked black, you'd see everything on it. Now, the other thing I did is they have chickens. So I bought this really fun chicken bundle, and it's called Garden Gate Roosters by Susan Winget, Wilmington Fabrics. Hang on a second. Wilmington Prints. Okay. Now, I think I got these. I think the fat quarter bundle I got from Missouri Star, and the layer cake I got from Paducah of Kentucky. Is that right? No, Hancock's of Paducah in Paducah, Kentucky. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our cuts. There's 2 cuts, and all of this will be on a PDF on our website, so don't have to remember a thing. These are going to get cut down into 9.5-inch squares. So there's going to be a little tiny bit of waste on those. Those are going to be our big prints. I'm also going to need to use some of these on that. These lighter ones are going to be the 9 patch. So I need to cut these at 1/2 inches. Now, what that means is I'm only going to get 4 out of a layer cake. So there's going to be a little bit of waste. Maybe we'll see if there's something fun we can do with that extra on the back of the quilt. That's always a fun place to look at that. The background fabric, I'm also going to need 3.5-inch squares because those are going to be my 9 patches. All right, let's get to cutting everything so we can get to sewing it. All right, so the first thing about this being a skill builder is that you want really precise cuts. So I've got some of my large blocks laid out here, and I've already cut them down to 9.5 inches this way. Now I need to cut them down to 9.5 inches this way. So I'm going to do that and show you a couple of little tips as I go. So first of all, I'm just going to get rid of some of these fuzzles. That's a good skill builder. If you can ever get rid of the pinked edges, go ahead and get rid of them. Now, I want you to see what I'm doing. I'm putting a lot of pressure here, and I'm kind of at a weird angle here. I'll often put one finger off the cutting ruler to anchor that so it doesn't, the ruler doesn't move on me. You can always use a weight. That's a big help too. The most important thing when you're cutting is not to run your ruler forward, putting the pressure behind your ruler, because then that moves your fabric. What you want to do is put your ruler, the pressure going down on the ruler. Oops, my blade's getting a little bit dull. And that cuts really nicely, and you see my fabric didn't shift at all. Okay, now we're going to come down to this side here and cut that 1/2 inch off. Okay, now I'm kind of backwards in this direction, but you can see I'm still pushing down on my ruler instead of forward, and that kept all the momentum to cutting and not to pushing the fabric. So now we've got really precise cuts. Those can go in my pile of cuts. All right, since we're doing skill building today, I brought the camera around so you can see from this angle exactly what I'm doing. The first thing that we need to do is identify on our machines where is a 1/4 inch exactly. So I've got my little seam ripper here, or not my seam ripper, my seam gauge, and I'm putting the 3-inch mark right there where my needle comes down, and I can see that the 1/4 inch mark is just to the right of my presser foot. So I've run a piece of tape from the right of my presser foot down to my measuring guide down here at the 1/4 inch mark. So now I've got a nice line where I know that is a 1/4 inch. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've laid out my 9 patch, and I'm going to do mine scrappy. That seems fun to me with all the little chickens and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to take these first 2. Now I sew with a leader, so I'm going to get that leader in there, and then I'm going to line these 2 up, and you want to line them up carefully. You don't want to see too much of the bottom one or not enough of the bottom one. So it's lined up just really, really nicely, and then I'm going to go to sewing. I'm going to hold the bottom of my pieces because it is at the very bottom that 1/4 inch can go awry, because the machine will, just the strength of the machine, it's going to kick it one way or another, and then you won't have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, put my glasses on there. All right, here we go again. And you'll notice I'm not cutting in between pieces because that's going to save thread. That's that chain piecing. And wow, what a fabulous thing that is to do. Okay. There we go. Those 3 are sewn together. Okay. Get my leader off there again. Put that back in there. Okay, now I'm going to open these up. Open them up. All right, so now I'm going to put a background up here. Okay. Again, holding that bottom piece. Now we'll do a chicken. This fabric is really sweet. And don't be afraid to slow down if you're going a little bit too fast and you're losing your 1/4 inch, okay? This is at the speed that you want it to be, and this is a practice one. We're working on our skills. Okay? And that's how quickly this is coming together. Okay, put my leader back in there. Now we're going to sew them together in rows. Now, the first thing we need to do is get them pressed the way we need them pressed. We're going to press everything towards the background fabric. Now, I'm just finger pressing here. Pressing is really important. So this is a really stable piece of fabric that is finger pressing really nicely. If it were not, I would take it to the iron and press it with the iron because that is going to help with our 1/4 inch seam allowances. Okay, that is a very important part of it. All right, but I think that is going to work just fine. All right, now I'm going to flip that over. And this is going to be one of the most important things right here, is that you get that nested really, really nicely, okay? So I'm going to get a couple of stitches done up here to anchor it into my machine. I'm going to make sure that that's still nesting nicely, and it is. And then I'm going to push right through. I'm going to get my needle through that one, and I'm going to check this one to make sure it's nesting nicely. Okay, and it is, although when I get a little bit further, I'm going to have to go over this hump, so I'm just going to hold on to that on the top and the bottom, and when it gets past that hump, then I'll set it back down, okay? There we go. It's still nesting really nice. So I'm going to get there, and then with the needle down, I'm going to then come to this corner and make sure that this corner is where it needs to be. And push right through. And you'll notice I kept my finger there on the fabric until my needle got all the way through that seam. That's so that it didn't push, because the machine will tend to, when you don't have a hold of it, it'll grab it and it'll make that spin a little bit. So we don't want to do that. Okay, again, I'm going to nest those corners really nicely. Get that up there like that. Get over that hump. Put my needle down right there. Check the next one. That looks really nice. And you can feel it. You can feel it when they're nesting. Get through that one, and then I'll get that corner straight. There we go. And just like that, one of our 9 patches are done. Okay, and we'll go and press it really nicely. All my corners look really lovely, and this will be ready to put into the quilt. Okay, so I'm going to get all that done, and then it'll be time to lay it out on the table and get all the colors where we want them and all the designs where we want them. So that's the next thing we're going to do. This is going to be a huge quilt. When I have to pull both tables together to get it all laid out, you know it's going to be a big quilt. The next thing I'm going to do is get all the rows, all the pieces in a row sewn together, get the rows sewn together. I am going to put a nice border on it. I want to mimic this size. So this was cut 3.5. So I'm going to cut all my borders out of this background green at 3.5 inches. And that's what I'm going to do it as a border. I think that'll really give the Irish chain someplace to stop. So we're going to get all that done, and then we're going to get it on Eleanor and get it long-armed. Hopefully I can find something with chickens in it to long-arm it with. All right. Here is the design that I've chosen. It's kind of it's a chicken wire. I think that's really neat. And as you can hear, Eleanor's working on it right now. It's going to turn out so cute. Let me get down here where you can see it. Isn't that adorable? We're just going to let her go to work. And since it's a rainy day outside, I've got my helpers. They're resting. Daddy's home, so Ranger is inside with him, but Bullet will always stay with Mommy. Okay, it's dinner time again for these guys, and they are wanting me to be finished out here. I just finished this quilt, and I love the way it turned out. I'm going to move everything a little bit closer so you can get a better look at it. Okay, calm down. Okay, I've brought you in real close so you can see this pretty line of fabric. This is Garden Gate Roosters by Susan Winget, Wilmington prints. Super neat line of fabric. Okay, this quilt is finishing 69.5 by 87.5, so a gracious, nice big size. I quilted it with this teal color because of this particular print. This is my favorite print in it, and I really love the way this just barely shows up, but it's really, really pretty, and it looks great on the back, which I did just the background fabric, and then I bound it with the background fabric too. Love the way this turned out. Great skill builder. Okay, let's talk about those skills. We talked about precision cutting. That's going to make your blocks go together, right? And we talked about that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So those were our skill builders that we used in this quilt. And I hope my hints will help you. Now I get to package this up and send it to Savannah in Nashville, Tennessee. I can't wait to get that to her. All right, until next time, please like, share, subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. And until next time, stay quilting. Bye.